with
Classy.
what the
Right.
other one?
All of that. All.
I mean, I always admired them before coming to the company also, and saw them as these like amazing artists, dancers. And I think then, of course, the way you see someone before you work with them is different. And working with them was actually so easy and transparent and collaborative. I think that's one of the biggest takeaways from this experience, was that I felt trusted to give my input and like bring what I wanted to do also, and like meet them halfway. And I think that for any dancer, that's something you have to learn in your career, because it doesn't really come naturally. And so to be invited to make movement or give ideas, it's really fun. It's just really joyful and amazing.
Yeah, I would agree that, we see them from the outside before we join the companies. These such incredibly talented dancers and artists. And well, the fact that there are two and they're siblings, the way that they work is also really real. Like, it's not dressed up, it's not performative in any way. So that also creates that level of openness in the space. Like, we're just playing, we're just having things, we're laughing, we're being really vulnerable. People are crying like from one day to the next. It's because they're family. So I guess the way that they relate, it's important for them to create a space where we all can also feel like really comfortable. And also there's a lot of creative energy coming at you. So they ask us to meet them at a certain level of flow that comes at quite a continuous pace. And we worked really hard, but it seems gratifying. And I mean, they're different also, of course. Of course.
Yeah.
But that's also really valuable, because you can have, you can create one thing with one and then come and get a bit of input from the other. And you can add these layers also then from yourself. So you have like three brains working on a section or on a moment, and that's always really fulfilling.
Yeah.
It allows you to keep digging in a way into the movement, maybe more than and researching. And then we also have our colleagues who we like to bounce thoughts and ideas off of. So
I think we had a really long research process where we were kind of allowed to be free, and I think somehow naturally in that state of freedom and like exploration, our stories came through a bit easier than when someone asked us, okay, what's your story? I think that it's also like right now really relevant, I think, to bring yourself more and your identity into a process. I think that's what we all want.
Yeah, and with it's kind of opened up a channel of communication in a way. Like, we would have periods where we just had the opportunity to talk individually, as a group towards them, like one after the other, just kind of saying things that you think or that you feel about yourself, or they kind of guided us to dig within us and see what it is that we would share that maybe is actually quite personal and intimate. And so through that sharing, then some things came out that, like she said, are quite relevant to today. And then it's then sculpting that information that is very personal and trying to find a like personal message that speaks to also a universal like theme. It was intimate, revealing, vulnerable in the beginning.
You really have to like trust that the space can hold it as well, because I think often like the dance rehearsal space, it doesn't ask for that so much. Of course, like our bodies are political and our bodies hold a lot of meaning, but then to be asked to say our stories with words is like a new challenge, and I think in some moments very cathartic also.
Yeah, it's to comment on that meaning of our bodies.
Yeah.
Really.
I think that with our stories, you can kind of draw like themes or kind of like singular attributes to what our stories are. So like for me at least, I know that I'm exploring a lot like the masculine and the feminine expression in movement, and of course this kind of gets abstracted or channeled through a different expression. But I think that for all of us, that's also another challenge, like relating a narrative to an abstract movement expression. So
yeah, and I think there's some way about how they set up the room. Like in the beginning, in the research period, we worked in many different ways from one day to the next. So we would have long moments of improvisation, and during those improvisation sessions, we as individuals get to bring and offer something to the space after also already having this context of maybe the direction of identity that the piece is going in. So we would offer these things through improvisation or through other ways of working that then also highlight or amplify certain themes that we can express physically. Yeah, we worked in many different ways also. Sometimes it was very clear set choreography. Yeah. Sometimes it was very open. Sometimes we went away on our own and worked on something and then brought it back to them. So in that way, there's also a lot of collaboration with us as creatives, but we're co-collaborators, I guess, in that way.
Yeah.
It's true that when we step on stage, there's part of us that we're always sharing, but with maybe a more traditional way of working or presenting dance, that stops how much of ourselves we can share, really reaches it caps off. Which also then maybe puts a wall up on how honest we can actually be also inside of the piece, inside of the movement. So, and then I guess related to my personal story, it's nice to, with words, also acknowledge my experience as a Black dancer in the company, or as a Black man in general in the world, and being able to kind of stand on that level of representation and have that sort of hold me in the space in a bit of a different way. Of course, it's always something that you see and it's visible. It's not anything that can be hidden. But I do think that when, say, a younger dancer of color can see an older dancer of color in a professional company talking about their experience of being a dancer of color, that somehow it creates a level of transparency that can show that there are safer spaces and places where acceptance can be for all, potentially, or that, I don't know, that there's, that you can come into a space and be fully who you are and talk about that openly and
you not have to leave it.
And not have to leave it behind, or not have to stow it away somewhere else so you can come and do the work and try and fit into a certain box. That actually, I can bring all of myself here, and that makes there's space for all of that here and the other side of the world, or in a totally different country, where maybe you're not surrounded by so many people like you, but there's still space for you, you know? I guess it's a level of freedom.
Yeah, and also like finding strength in our identities. I think also if you're part of a minority group, like for me being trans, it's like you almost feel like you there's a lot against you in the world, and then to be able to use that vulnerability and translate it through art and also through the eyes of another choreographer, to like being able to share that dialogue of who you are as a person is really freeing. And I don't know if it translates in the piece, but I do think that in the process, like being able to be like, yes, I am here, this is who I am, then it's like in the end the product is coming from a place of strength in who you are. I mean, that's not every day. Some days you don't feel that way, but
some days there's no more strength. Some days there is no more.
I think that we always want to bring ourselves on stage, and I think that that's like an inherent desire of being a dancer and being an artist. But then with this, I think there's also this there's a way of being that is also for other people to, like, I know my story can hopefully relate to other people like me, and I know that I always wanted to see someone like me reflected in the dance world, and also like with the way the world is and the way that people are being aware of inclusion and diversity. I think that this is a really beautiful step in the right direction to kind of expose how multifaceted and different we are, as opposed to being like amazing technical dancers or impressive bodies, that we actually hold these political narratives, and that we are here and are vulnerable with it as well.
Yeah. All of that. All of that. Completely.